There is a reason your life feels smaller than your potential. A reason opportunities pass you, conversations shrink you, and your days feel as though they are governed by forces outside your command. It is not because you lack talent, time, or intelligence. It is because you have never been taught to think like a king. A king is not defined by gold, crowns, or thrones. A king is defined by thought, by the kind of inner decree that bends the world into shape, by the authority that rises from a man who has learned to govern his own mind before he dares govern anything else. If you will listen with the full weight of your attention, I will show you how that kind of thinking makes everything you desire move toward you. But first, hear this uncomfortable truth. You have been thinking like a subject. You have been moving through your days seeking permission. Permission to succeed, to speak, to stand tall, to pursue what you want. You have waited for approval from employers, friends, circumstances, and fortune. And no man who waits for permission ever discovers power. Let me ask you something sharp and personal. When you wake in the morning, do you rise as one sent to command the day, or as one dragged by it? Do you walk into a room with the bearing of one who governs his environment, or with the timid posture of one who merely survives it? The answer to that question reveals why your results look as they do. A king thinks differently from the masses. He does not ask, what will happen today? He decides what shall happen. He does not hope for favorable conditions. He creates them. He does not shrink before obstacles. He uses them. He does not wait for resources. He attracts them. And he does this through one invisible force, the definiteness of his thought. Most people cannot grasp how powerful this is. They think life is determined by chance, fate, or luck. But the king understands a deeper law. Whatever thought you consistently hold with purpose, backed by desire, backed by faith, backed by decision, becomes magnetized. It begins to pull resources, people, opportunities, and circumstances toward itself. You have seen this law without recognizing it. You have watched confident men attract abundance without knowing why. You have witnessed men of certainty gather allies wherever they go. You have observed that when a man carries himself like a ruler of his inner world, the outer world adjusts to honor him. But you have also seen the opposite. A man who doubts himself invites doubt from others. A man who hesitates draws hesitation from life. A man who thinks small repels greatness because nothing majestic will enter a mind that has no place to contain it. A kingdom cannot grow inside a shrinking mind. Here is the question that should trouble you right now. How would your life change if you thought like a king? Do not answer this lightly. Imagine it. Imagine thinking thoughts that do not tremble. Imagine speaking words that do not betray fear. Imagine walking with an inner authority that makes others rise when you enter a room. Imagine attracting opportunities because your very presence commands possibility. Do not think this is arrogance. Arrogance is noisy, insecure, brittle. A king is none of these. A king is calm. A king is measured. A king is directed. A king knows where he is going before his feet begin to move. A king is not loud because he does not need to be. His mind carries the weight that others try to manufacture. And listen carefully. This is where the world's great misunderstanding begins. Men try to imitate the posture without cultivating the thought. They mimic the confidence without possessing the definiteness behind it. They imitate the walk without developing the purpose that drives it. They try to act like kings without learning to think like them. But thought comes first. Thought is the cause. Everything else is the effect. If you understood the full power of a single definite thought, you would abandon every weak idea you have ever repeated to yourself. You would stop saying, I hope. You would stop whispering, if only. You would never again dilute your desire with doubt. You would never again speak like a beggar when you were born to reign over your own mind. Let me give you a quiet warning. Once you learn to think like a king, you will not fit comfortably in the world you built with the mind of a subject. You will stop tolerating what drains you. You will stop explaining yourself to people who refuse to rise. You will stop bending to expectations that once controlled you. You will begin to outgrow conversations, environments, and habits that were never worthy of your purpose. You will also attract what you once chased. People will treat you differently, not because you demanded it, but because your inner command changes the atmosphere around you. Opportunities will appear that once avoided you, not because the world changed, but because you did. Prosperity will come nearer, not because it finally noticed you, but because your thought became definite enough to draw it. The world has always obeyed the mind that knows its own authority. Think of the men who reshaped history. Not one of them waited for permission to think boldly. Not one asked the crowd whether his vision was acceptable. Not one trembled before the doubts of lesser minds. They held their purpose like a scepter, and the world slowly at first, then suddenly bowed to that purpose. Now hear this, and let it unsettle you. You were born with the same inner court, the same mental throne, the same capacity for dominion over your thought that they used. You simply have not used it. You have allowed fear to sit where faith should reign. You have permitted indecision to occupy the throne meant for definiteness. You have let circumstances dictate what only your mind should govern. A king cannot be ruled by doubt. A king cannot be ruled by fear. A king cannot be ruled by the opinions of the crowd, the noise of the world, or the hesitation of the weak. A king must rule himself, or he rules nothing. And so I ask you again with greater urgency, what would change in your life if you thought like a king? What would happen if you approached your goals with authority? What would shift if you treated your desire like a decree? What would align if you disciplined your mind as a ruler disciplines his kingdom? Do not enter another day thinking like a subject. Begin in this moment to think like one who commands, one who decides, one who creates, one who attracts, one who governs his inner world so completely that the outer world follows. Everything you desire is already moving. It is waiting for a master, not a petitioner. It is waiting for a king. And when you think like a king, you attract everything worthy of one. Now prepare yourself. You are about to learn exactly how a great king thinks. Every man walks through life surrounded by an invisible empire he scarcely notices. He calls it imagination, thought, or personality, yet it is far more majestic. It is his inner kingdom, his seat of power, his treasury, his fortress, and his field of creation. This kingdom obeys one master only, and that master is the thinker himself. Most men abdicate that throne without ever realizing it. They rise each morning ruled by chance, moved by moods, commanded by the opinions of others. They speak of misfortune as though it were a tyrant beyond appeal, and of success as though it were a matter of luck. But luck is only the visible shadow of ordered thought. The man who thinks deliberately rules unseen forces that shape visible events. The man who drifts becomes the subject of those same forces. I have seen many such exiled kings. They wear fine garments, yet their eyes betray defeat. Their palaces are cluttered with fear and hesitation. In their minds, the royal court is noisy. Doubt quarrels with desire. Criticism mocks ambition. And faith sits silent in a corner awaiting recall. And because no firm decree is spoken, confusion reigns as sovereign. Understand this truth. The throne of the mind cannot remain empty. If the rightful ruler fails to sit upon it, impostors will. When decision sleeps, fear rules. When purpose weakens, circumstance seizes command. Every day you delay in asserting authority, you allow the common rabble of worry, memory, and gossip to occupy your court and waste your treasure. There once lived a young clerk who believed his duty was to obey. He waited for orders, praised caution, and earned just enough to remain ordinary. But one morning, in the midst of his routine, a realization struck him with the force of revelation. No one was coming to crown him but himself. He resolved that day to think his own thought, to decree his own future, and to govern his own destiny. That decision turned Andrew Carnegie from a timid clerk into a builder of empires. His fortune did not begin with money. It began with a mental command. A single definite thought held with faith is a scepter of unlimited reach. The moment a man declares within himself, I shall, the machinery of the universe begins its silent motion toward fulfillment. Invisible messengers depart from the chambers of the subconscious to summon opportunity, ideas, and allies to the king's cause. Ordinary men believe that circumstances decide their fate. The ruler knows that circumstances are his servants. He uses them as the mason uses stone, some rough, some smooth, but each shaped to the design of a definite plan. When adversity appears, he does not curse it. He commands it to serve a higher pattern. The strength of every kingdom lies not in comfort, but in obedience to law. And the first law is this: thought precedes all manifestation. Picture the mind of a subject and the mind of a king. In the subject's court, every rumor is believed, every fear gains audience, and every passing opinion influences policy. In the king's court, silence governs until reason speaks. Emotion enters only by permission, and doubt is banished as a traitor. The difference is not in intelligence, but in inner order. Therefore, establish order in your own dominion. Begin by recognizing thought as your royal scepter. Each idea you entertain is an edict to unseen powers. You may not see the army it commands, yet its march is certain. Desire is the trumpet that announces intention. Faith is the legion that carries it forward. Decision is the seal that authenticates it. Together they form the three pillars of kingship within the mind. Desire is the spark of creation, the cry of life demanding expansion. Faith is the confidence that one's decree is lawful and shall be enforced. Decision is the act by which the decree becomes binding. Without decision, desire is a beggar. Without faith, decision is an empty threat. Unite all three, and you hold dominion over circumstance itself. Consider again the young Carnegie at the turning point of his destiny. He possessed no wealth, yet he commanded himself with royal certainty. Each day he reaffirmed his decision to rise. He studied men who built where others feared to begin. He replaced the thought, I cannot, with I will learn. That single change of speech altered the course of his fortune. When the mind changes language, the world changes obedience. You too issue decrees daily, often without awareness. When you say, I am tired, you summon fatigue. When you declare, nothing ever works for me, you command failure to report. But when you speak with definiteness, this task shall succeed, for I have decided it shall. You awaken hidden forces that rally to your banner. Life responds to your conviction, not to your complaint. Remember always that faith is the army that enforces the king's decree. It is loyal, tireless, and undefeatable, yet it requires leadership. Doubt is the rebel general who plots insurrection within your gates. Permit him to whisper long enough, and faith will falter. Therefore, issue this daily command. I sit again upon the throne of my mind. I rule my thoughts as a king rules his court. I permit no traitor called fear to whisper treason. Speak these words until they become tone and posture. Let them accompany you into the day like a guard of honor. The repetition of a royal decree builds habit. Habit builds character. Character builds destiny. Every repetition engraves the law deeper into the tablets of the subconscious until obedience becomes automatic. Guard your mental fortress as you would the gates of a city under siege. The wealth within is your power of thought. Each fear you entertain is an open gate to plunder. Each doubt you harbor is a spy in your counsel. Be vigilant. Let no rumor of defeat cross your walls. If adversity hammers at the door, receive it as an envoy bearing hidden treasure, for within every difficulty lies a resource awaiting command. Observe how the man of faith moves through life. He does not wait to feel certain. He decides to be certain. He does not consult the weather of public opinion. He consults the compass of purpose. When obstacles arise, he does not surrender authority to them. He reissues his decree with greater emphasis. Such a man seems favored by fortune, yet fortune merely answers his tone of command. I have known many who prayed for success while speaking defeat. Their words nullified their faith as surely as conflicting orders confound an army. The king does not issue contradictory decrees. He speaks once with clarity and allows time and law to execute the order. The subject changes his wish with every mood and wonders why the world ignores him. Understand this sacred correspondence. Every definite thought you hold is a messenger traveling through the invisible toward its physical counterpart. If you change the message mid-journey, confusion returns instead of fulfillment. Therefore, be deliberate, think slowly, decide firmly, and stand by your decision until it bears fruit. Faith does not require haste. It requires consistency. The seed planted today will ripen in its appointed season if you protect it from the weeds of doubt. The farmer who digs up his seed each morning to see if it grows destroys it by impatience. The ruler who changes decree before it is carried out weakens the respect of his subjects. So it is with the mind. Acknowledge the grandeur of this simple truth. Within your own thought dwells the same power that moves stars, builds empires, and heals nations. Infinite intelligence works through the mind that believes itself capable of command. To think as a king is not vanity. It is obedience to the divine order that made man in the image of the Creator. When you forget this, life appears cruel. When you remember it, even misfortune becomes material for greatness. For nothing that enters the consciousness of a self-ruled mind can harm it. All things must serve its design. The king uses defeat to forge strength, just as the smith uses fire to shape iron. Pause now and consider the present condition of your own realm. Are your thoughts loyal, or have they deserted to the enemy camp of fear? Do you command your emotions, or do they riot through your streets unchecked? The inventory of your inner kingdom will reveal the cause of every outer circumstance. To change the world, begin with the throne room. Henceforth, let this be your vow of restoration. I recall myself to dominion. I am the rightful ruler of my mind. I decree order where there was confusion, faith where there was fear, decision where there was doubt. My thoughts obey me, and through them life obeys me. Repeat it until your voice and heart agree, for until a man reclaims rulership over his thought, his life will remain ruled by accident. Once he returns to the throne, destiny kneels before him. Every kingdom is governed by law, and the greatest of all laws is that command shapes creation. The difference between the ruler and the servant is not the measure of their intelligence, but the manner of their speech within the mind. The servant thinks in questions, the ruler in decrees. The servant asks life to decide. The ruler decides for life. And nature, ever impartial, obeys whoever issues the clearest order. Every great achievement begins with a command issued from within. No empire was ever built by doubt, no masterpiece painted by hesitation. The world moves only when a mind moves first, and that movement must be definite. A man's word, spoken in faith, is the unseen command that marshals circumstance into rank and order. Each day you speak thousands of orders, and life answers each according to its tone. Commands of courage open paths. Commands of fear close them. Once, a young man stood outside the laboratory of Thomas Edison, determined to become his business associate. He had little education, no recommendation, and less money. Yet he possessed something kings recognize, a decision that would not be argued with. When told there were no vacancies, he calmly replied that he was not looking for one. He had come to serve Edison and would remain until the chance appeared. That man was Edwin C. Barnes. His decision was so final that even circumstances dared not contradict it. Months later, when opportunity called, it called his name. He rose from obscurity because he refused to let chance dictate. Decision was his first command, and persistence enforced it. From that day forward, his fortune marched beneath the banner of a single mental order. I will become the business partner of Edison. The command was internal. the obedience universal. So understand this. Command is not arrogance. It is faith vocalized. Arrogance seeks to rule others. Faith seeks to rule self. Arrogance shouts. Faith speaks quietly, but expects obedience. Every morning, the wise ruler holds counsel in the court of his own mind. While others reach for distractions, he reaches for his decree. He decides what this day shall bring and sets the rhythm of its unfolding. Most men begin the day as subjects. They wait to see what the weather, the market, or other men will do before they choose their mood. The king begins his day as sovereign. He issues orders to his mind. Be calm, be industrious, expect good, speak only purpose. He shapes the mental climate before events arise. Because he commands himself, nothing external can command him. The power called autosuggestion is nothing less than royal speech addressed to one's own subconscious. It is the daily law-giving of the inner throne. To utter words without belief is mere muttering, but to speak with faith is to write upon the tablets of destiny. The subconscious never argues, it executes. Whatever law you inscribe upon it, it will enforce, whether for triumph or for ruin. Let me illustrate. There lived a minister who long dreamed of establishing a great educational institution. He lacked the funds, but not the vision. One Sunday, standing before his congregation, he declared that he would build that college, and that within a certain time, one man would come forward with $1 million to make it possible. His name was Dr. Frank Gonsalves. His declaration was a royal command. Within days, a philanthropist offered the exact sum. His words, spoken in faith, became law in action. Command is creative because it assumes obedience. The universe rushes to complete a definite thought in the same way that an unfinished melody urges resolution. Speak, said the ancient teachers, and it shall be done. The lazy man waits to see, the determined man speaks, and seeing follows. You must learn, therefore, to treat your words as edicts. Idle speech wastes energy, just as idle decrees waste the respect of subjects. Each complaint you utter is a command to failure. Each affirmation of purpose is a call to power. One builds order, the other confusion. The tongue of a ruler must never contradict the mind of a ruler. The man who says, I will try, issues no order at all. The man who says, I will, and means it, moves unseen currents. You cannot command what you doubt. Doubt divides authority, and divided authority breeds rebellion. Decide, declare, and remain unwavering. Life has no choice but to conform to sustained conviction. Say to yourself each dawn, my word is law in my world. What I decree in faith, life must fulfill. Speak it not as a plea, but as acknowledgement of the order that already exists between thought and outcome. Each repetition strengthens the chain of obedience between conscious decision and subconscious execution. Kings think in images of completion, not conditions of delay. The subject says, I will succeed when circumstances permit. The king says, circumstances shall align, for success is decreed. He sees the finished work long before the labor begins. Vision is the draft of the royal architect. Faith provides the builders. Look again at the careers of those who ruled fortune. Each possessed a tongue trained to command. When Edison conceived the phonograph, he did not petition chance. He announced an intention. When Ford conceived the motor for the common man, he did not wait for permission from experts. He declared its inevitability. Their inventions were physical echoes of mental decrees. To command is to live by cause, not by effect. It is to occupy the center of decision instead of the circumference of reaction. The man who waits to be moved will always be moved by others. The man who commands himself moves all others indirectly. A single definite order from within outvalues 100 good opinions from without. Begin practicing the art of royal command. Speak with precision. Remove from your language the phrases of weakness. I hope, I wish, I'll try. Replace them with I will, I choose, I decide. Let your speech mirror the discipline of a ruler's edict, clear, final, and calm. Then act upon it as though failure were impossible, for decision followed by action converts words into law. When the mind commands with conviction, it magnetizes helpers, ideas, and circumstances fitted to its purpose. The decree goes forth. The invisible realm answers. Coincidences multiply, opportunities assemble, and the world seems strangely arranged in your favor. There is no magic in this, only the silent machinery of mental law fulfilling its duty to the one who knows his authority. Most men speak as beggars, asking life for what they already possess the power to create. The king speaks as master, knowing that his word begins the movement of events. He waits not for fortune's nod. He issues command and proceeds with faith. His confidence trains the world to respect him. Even those who oppose him ultimately serve his design, for command aligns all energies, friendly or hostile, toward the fulfillment of purpose. Understand, then, that the true seat of power lies not in possessions or positions, but in the disciplined voice within you. When you decide without reservation and speak your decision with faith, you summon the universe to attention. The hesitant man lives by permission. The decisive man lives by decree. And decree is the language of kings. No throne can stand without order. No ruler can reign without discipline. And no mind can command life if it cannot first command itself. The kingdom within you depends upon one law above all others, the law of inner order. Without it, power leaks, faith wavers, and desire becomes scattered like soldiers without a general. A man may have great dreams, bold words, and burning ambition, yet if his thought lacks discipline, his kingdom falls into rebellion. Indecision, distraction, and self-pity seize the throne. The drifter is not defeated by fate. He is conquered by the confusion within. For the forces of life always obey the mind that is organized and ignore the mind that is divided. A throne without order soon falls to ruin, just as a mind without discipline collapses under the weight of its own noise. Each unguarded thought, each unchecked emotion, each idle hour is a thief in the treasury of power. You cannot build greatness on the quicksand of unruled thinking. The first duty of the ruler, therefore, is to establish mental guards, habits that protect the kingdom from drift. Every thought repeated becomes a soldier loyal to its source. Repetition is not boredom, it is training. The more often a soldier drills, the more swiftly he obeys when battle comes. So it is with your mind. Each affirmation, each deliberate thought, each conscious act of focus is an order given and obeyed within. Repetition engraves authority. I once knew a man who set out to build a store where goods would sell for 5 and 10 cents, and the world laughed at him. He was mocked, ridiculed, and warned by experts that such a dream was folly. Yet he persisted. He trained his thought to obey faith instead of fear. That man was F.W. Woolworth. His persistence turned mockery into marvel, and his vision became an empire. Discipline was his crown. The law of habit is the builder of empires. It is neutral, impartial, and eternal. It will serve you or enslave you according to your use of it. The drifter, repeating doubt and delay, builds chains. The disciplined, repeating faith and purpose, builds wings. One is carried downward by hypnotic rhythm, the other upward by the same law used rightly. Habit is the silent mason of destiny. Controlled attention is the royal vigilance that guards this law. It decides which thoughts may enter the palace and which must be banished. Most men allow every wandering idea to cross their gates. They speak of exhaustion and confusion, not realizing that both are the result of uncontrolled mental hospitality. The ruler of thought admits only that which strengthens the realm. A king cannot afford the luxury of distraction. Every idle thought taxes the treasury of power. Those who fritter hours in gossip, complaint, and envy are like rulers who squander gold on jesters. Attention is the purest currency of life. Spend it only upon that which multiplies. To give your focus to what weakens you is treason against your own throne. When Henry Ford demanded that his engineers build a V8 motor in a single casting, they told him it was impossible. Ford's reply was simple: produce it. Months passed, then years, yet he never changed the command. His persistence forced the impossible to yield. His mind did not drift from its order. His attention did not wander from the vision. Such is the discipline of mastery, the refusal to think otherwise once decision is made. Remember this decree: I govern my attention as a king governs gold. I spend it only upon that which multiplies. Let these words become your guard at the gate of thought. Train your attention to return swiftly to purpose whenever it strays. The man who can hold one idea steadily until it manifests possesses power greater than armies. Persistence is the armor of a ruler. It turns defeat into training, delay into development, and failure into foundation. The timid man withdraws after the first blow. The disciplined man steadies himself and strikes again with greater understanding. Each repetition of effort carves another line of authority upon his mind until victory becomes the only natural outcome. There is a silent law at work in all this, the law of the throne. Whatever you repeatedly think and do becomes permanent. The universe, impartial and precise, engraves your repeated acts into the substance of your character. Think often of poverty, and poverty becomes habitual. Think often of wealth, service, and self-command, and these two solidify into law. Habit is cosmic handwriting. It records every repetition. Therefore, make your repetitions royal. Every morning, recall your definite chief aim. Every night, review the day and forgive no negligence. Demand obedience from your thoughts as you would from soldiers. Reward faith, punish fear by exile. Allow no murmuring counsel of limitation. The throne room of the mind must echo only with the commands of purpose, gratitude, and confidence. Some complain that discipline is tiresome. Yet consider the fatigue of failure, the exhaustion of regret, the long sorrow of drift. Compared with these, discipline is ease. It simplifies life by removing alternatives. The king does not debate his own orders. Once given, they are carried out. That same firmness applied to yourself will spare you 1,000 wasted hours. The disciplined mind walks calmly through storm. Its emotions obey its will obeys its purpose obeys its vision. This is the hierarchy of order that makes men powerful. Without it, you are a kingdom divided against itself. With it, you are an empire expanding daily. If confusion or weariness should tempt you, remember Woolworth, Ford, and every man who rose by steady repetition of a single idea. They were not favored, they were faithful. Faithfulness to one purpose builds invisible momentum until even resistance must assist. The law of cosmic habit force bends in favor of him who persists. Let this affirmation close your day. Order rules my mind. Habit obeys my command. My thoughts march in ranks of purpose. My emotions serve, not rule. I am steadfast, calm, and certain. I build through repetition, and repetition builds me. Hold it until your tone carries the quiet authority of conviction. For when the mind becomes a well-disciplined army under definite leadership, all other kingdoms follow its command. Every kingdom must hold communion with a higher power. No ruler governs alone. Even earthly kings once bowed before heaven to seal their authority. So it is with the mind. Faith is the invisible embassy through which the human will correspond with infinite intelligence. Without that sacred communication, all commands fall upon deaf ears. With it, every decree carries the seal of divine enforcement. Faith is not belief alone, it is loyalty of the heart to one's vision. The timid man believes when he sees. The ruler believes, and then he sees. The subject asks for proof before moving. The king moves, and proof follows in procession. Faith is the royal messenger between thought and reality. It carries your command beyond the visible frontier and returns with the obedience of circumstance. There is no mystery in this law. It is as old as creation itself. Every event you call chance is but faith or doubt clothed in circumstance. Each moment your mind holds an image with conviction. You write orders upon the fabric of life. And the universe, impartial and just, fulfills those orders without complaint. Observe how this law shaped the triumphs of those who dared to believe. There was once a quiet inventor who dreamed of harnessing sound and light, who failed again and again until failure lost its sting. Thousands of experiments yielded no success, yet he never surrendered faith. His name was Thomas Edison. Faith held his mind in correspondence with infinite intelligence until the secret of the incandescent lamp was revealed. What men called discovery was but the answer to unbroken belief. Faith magnetizes, doubt repels. Faith draws toward the thinker everything harmonious with his purpose. Doubt breaks the line of communication and sends confusion instead of fulfillment. Faith is the unseen gravity of the soul. It pulls to itself the substance of thought. The world may mock, but law never mocks. It yields to loyalty. Consider faith as the language of the royal court between your mind and the infinite. Prayer, when spoken in faith, is not a plea. It is a proclamation of rightful inheritance. The king does not beg for bread. He calls upon the treasury. You are heir to a divine abundance that waits only for command spoken in certainty. When you pray with doubt, you insult the law. When you speak with assurance, you honor it. I recall a story of one born without hearing, whose father refused to accept nature's verdict. Each day he repeated the decree, "My son shall hear." That son, Blair Hill, trained his own mind to believe that hearing was possible. He imagined it, affirmed it, and lived as though it were already true. Through strange circumstance, a device, an idea, an adaptation, his hearing was awakened. Faith wrote the law, and life obeyed. Infinite intelligence, I have said, is loyal to definite faith, but deaf to hesitation. When a man vacillates between belief and fear, the universe receives mixed signals and responds with mixed results. Faith must be definite. It must know its object, its time, its purpose. It must be backed by emotion, for emotion is the music that moves the unseen. A dry command carries no power. A burning faith commands all things. Say within yourself, "I believe with such intensity that life must respond. My faith writes laws the universe must obey." Let that belief fill your posture, your voice, your manner. Others will feel it even when you are silent, for faith radiates an atmosphere that cannot be feigned. The confident man blesses his environment. He becomes a source of calm strength wherever he stands. Look how men of faith attract companions and opportunity. When one carries certainty in his bearing, others gather around him unconsciously, seeking leadership, seeking warmth. Confidence teaches the world how to respond. The undecided repel both help and respect, for no one can follow a man who does not know his own direction. The king's faith blesses his people. It steadies every heart within sight of his calm. Faith translates thought into substance, dream into plan, and plan into fact. When you believe in the possibility of your idea until doubt dies of neglect, your faith turns invisible material into visible form. The builder first sees the cathedral within his mind. Faith draws the stone, the worker, the means. Without faith, even skill remains sterile. With it, ignorance becomes inspired genius. Consider also that faith is the foundation of courage. The timid mind sees obstacles as warnings. The faithful mind sees them as assignments. To the unbeliever, a closed door ends the journey. To the man of faith, it marks the next point of entry. Every test becomes testimony once faith endures it. Let us not forget the royal quality of serenity. Faith makes a man calm amid chaos, for he has already issued his decree. He does not argue with delay. He knows law works with precision, not haste. The farmer who plants seed does not dig up the field each day to check growth. He waters, he waits, and he trusts. So too must you tend to your vision with patience. Remember also, fear is the shadow of faith's absence. When fear approaches, do not wrestle it. Replace it. Speak faith where fear speaks failure. Affirm your dominion with conviction. There is no obstacle greater than my decree. There is no delay that faith cannot outlast. The repetition of truth starves falsehood of power. The world has never withheld wealth, love, or success from the faithful. It merely mirrors their belief. Those who see scarcity find it. Those who see abundance attract it. Those who walk in assurance draw allies from unseen corners. Faith is the invisible architect of every fortune ever built. Even enemies serve the man of faith, though they know it not. Their resistance sharpens his power. Their criticism strengthens his resolve. Life itself conspires with faith, testing it only to prove its endurance. The loyal heart cannot be robbed of its reward. To believe when nothing yet appears is to think as a king. The farmer of thought who sows faith will one day reap substance. The doubter lives from evidence to evidence. The believer lives from vision to victory. That is the difference between the subject and the ruler, between drifting and directing, between poverty and prosperity. Let this law be engraved upon your heart. Faith is the royal seal upon every decree of thought. Without it, all commands remain unsigned, all plans unenforced. With it, the simplest desire becomes a charter of power. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between man and his destiny, between the king and his kingdom. Repeat to yourself with solemn conviction, my faith is my crown. It gleams with certainty. Through it, I correspond with the infinite. My decrees are answered because they are spoken in loyalty to law. I do not beg. I believe. I do not doubt. I decide. Therefore, all that I decree in faith becomes fact. Hold this thought long enough, and you will find yourself surrounded by opportunities that once ignored you, by allies that once doubted you, by a peace that cannot be disturbed. For faith, like true royalty, never needs to prove itself. It simply reigns. No ruler ever governed alone. The wisdom of kings lies not merely in their decrees, but in their choice of counselors. The throne may be made of gold, yet without loyal minds around it, the kingdom weakens. The same law governs your mental and worldly success. The quality of your associations determines the strength of your dominion. You rise or fall with the minds that surround you. Every man walks with a silent counsel. Some call it influence, some call it company, some call it environment. I call it the court of association. Each friend, each voice, each book, and each conversation holds a seat in this court. Some advise wisdom, others whisper ruin. A wise ruler attends carefully to his advisers. A careless one lets fools speak in the palace of his thought until faith is mocked and courage dethroned. The mastermind principle is the king's counsel in spiritual form. It is the alliance of two or more minds united in harmony toward a definite purpose. Harmony multiplies power. Discord divides it. When men of one vision think together, their combined faith summons results beyond the reach of any single mind. One spark lights a candle. Many sparks light a city. Look upon the example of Andrew Carnegie once more. He did not build his empire through labor alone. He surrounded himself with men of superior skill, loyal to his purpose. He ruled not by knowing everything, but by knowing everyone who knew something vital. Each mind in his circle became an extension of his own. That harmony of intelligence was his invisible army. The mastermind was his secret throne room. Your environment is your invisible empire. It speaks to you even when no word is said. If your companions talk of failure, fear, or limitation, their language becomes the echo in your halls of thought. Soon your inner tone matches theirs. But if you surround yourself with men and women who speak of progress, courage, and faith, their conviction strengthens your own. You cannot remain small among those who think greatly. A wrong companion is a hidden rebellion against your purpose. One disloyal voice in your counsel can undo months of decision. A casual jest that ridicules your dream may plant doubt deeper than open criticism. Therefore, choose your friends, your reading, your habits of association as carefully as a ruler chooses generals. Every influence is either ally or enemy. There is no neutrality in the court of thought. The drifter seeks comfort in agreement. He surrounds himself with those who will not challenge his weakness. The king seeks growth in counsel. He welcomes the wise correction that strengthens rule. The flatterer is a danger. The honest companion is a gift beyond price. Remember, truth spoken by loyalty is a sword that defends. Criticism spoken by envy is a dagger aimed at the back. Let your daily company refine your spirit. Choose to listen to voices that lift you upward. Spend time with the great through their written words, if the living do not yet share your vision. Read the lives of Lincoln, Emerson, and Edison. They will speak to you as clearly as living men. The silent companionship of noble thought outlasts the loud chatter of mediocrity. There is also a higher council, the invisible assembly of inspired minds whose thought still moves the world. You may commune with them by imagination. Call before you in quiet moments the image of a man whose courage you admire and ask silently, "How would you act in my place?" Your subconscious, reaching through infinite intelligence, will return the answer. Thus did I gather my invisible counselors during years of study and labor. This is no fancy, it is law. The mind you contemplate, you contact. The right alliance multiplies power. One inspired conversation may alter the entire design of your destiny. One shared faith can build what neither could build alone. When two minds of harmony focus upon one aim, they draw to themselves a third, unseen intelligence, the creative force that bridges their thoughts. That force is the true master mind, and it obeys harmony as surely as lightning obeys the storm cloud. Observe how Charles Schwab rose from the ranks of labor to command the mightiest steel organization of his age. He was not a man of mere technique, but of contagious enthusiasm. He inspired cooperation, he multiplied confidence. Around such men, others grow capable. They are kings of morale. Their faith radiates through every subordinate until work itself becomes devotion. The young man who works beyond his pay soon finds himself invited to partnership, not because fortune favors him, but because he practices the royal law of service. He adds to his environment more value than he receives, and life hastens to balance the account. Such men build their mastermind through spirit as much as intellect. They convert service into magnetism, and magnetism into opportunity. Let this affirmation become your guard over companionship. I sit among minds that strengthen me. I listen only to counsel that builds my dominion. I welcome truth, reject gossip, and align with harmony. Speak it before every gathering, before every conversation, until your very presence silences the discord of lesser talk. When your spirit radiates leadership, even idle chatter transforms into cooperation. Envy must never find lodging in your heart. To envy is to confess inferiority. Instead, turn admiration into study. The success of others is evidence of law, not injustice. The wise ruler sends observers to the kingdoms of prosperous men, not armies to destroy them. Examine how they think, what habits they practice, how they persist under difficulty. Every successful man is an open book of methods waiting to be read by humility. I have seen men isolate themselves in pride, calling it independence, when in truth it was fear. The king is not lonely because he rules. He is surrounded by faithful allies. Seek such alliance. The man who builds alone builds small. The man who builds with minds of harmony builds monuments. Even the Creator worked through many hands when shaping the world. Every kingdom rises or falls by its alliances. Surround yourself with those who speak your language of faith. Withdraw politely from those whose words poison your will. Do not scorn them. Simply refuse them entry into your inner court. For loyalty to purpose sometimes demands exile of company. And when you have chosen well, treat your allies with honor, for gratitude is the cement of the master mind. Let this decree close this lesson. My environment obeys my purpose. I attract to my court only those who serve its growth. My counsel is harmony. My companions are faith and wisdom. Together we enlarge the kingdom of achievement. Hold to this law as you would to breath itself, for no throne endures without right association, and no man attains greatness until his companions share his vision. The company you keep becomes the echo of your own soul. Choose it as a king chooses heirs. Every kingdom requires daily governance. No matter how vast the empire or how wise the ruler, neglect invites decay. Power unattended becomes disorder. Riches unused become rust. So too does the mind lose its authority when it ceases to decree each day. The ruler of thought must not rest upon yesterday's victories. He must reestablish his dominion with every sunrise. Each morning is a coronation. When your eyes open, you are again presented with the scepter of choice, the right to command your mind, to decide your tone, to direct the day. Most men, untrained in royalty of thought, rise as servants. They take orders from moods, memories, and conditions. But the king greets the dawn with decision. He does not ask what the day holds. He announces what it shall yield. Therefore, make each morning sacred. Before the world intrudes, enter the audience chamber of your mind. Speak your first command with authority. Today I rule. My thoughts are calm. My will is definite. My labor is joyful. My results are certain. Say it slowly, with conviction, until your heart believes and your body aligns. For every sunrise carries two invitations, one to drift and one to direct. Choose direction. Repetition is the ritual of power. The mind believes whatever it hears continually. The subject repeats complaint until misery becomes custom. The king repeats command until greatness becomes habit. Write your definite chief aim and read it aloud morning and night. This is not ceremony, it is legislation. Each repetition engraves law deeper into the court of the subconscious, and the servant mind enforces it without question. Habit is the spine of dominion. What you perform without struggle reveals who truly rules within you. A man may dream of riches, yet live by the habit of poverty. He may speak of faith, yet act in doubt each dawn. The purpose of daily decree is to make power automatic, to harden right thinking into reflex. When noble habit governs, effort becomes ease, and obedience to purpose becomes instinct. There was once a worker who imagined himself owner of the business he served. Each morning, before beginning his tasks, he rehearsed in thought the actions of a master. He studied improvement, offered service beyond his pay, and treated the enterprise as his own. Months later, his employer, observing his initiative, made him a partner. His promotion was not favor, but fulfillment of his mental rehearsal. What he repeated within, he attracted without. This is the true meaning of autosuggestion, the art of training habit by deliberate thought. The subconscious is a loyal soldier. It does not reason, it repeats. Feed it orders of courage, and courage responds before fear can act. Feed it orders of indolence, and it will close your gates to opportunity. Therefore, feed it wisely. You are both king and steward over this unseen army. Organized planning is the architecture of dominion. Every great empire was first a plan upon parchment. The ruler who rises without a plan soon becomes slave to accidents. Order your days, schedule your duties, review your progress. The habit of deliberate planning trains your mind to think in sequence rather than impulse, and each completed plan builds faith in your own authority. To govern time is to govern destiny. Hours are the gold coins of achievement. Spend them with royal care. The subject wastes them on complaint. The king invests them in purpose. Let no idle minute dwell within your palace. Even rest should serve design, refreshment that renews vigor. not indulgence that breeds apathy. Indifference to small duties weakens the mind's authority. Attend to them with the dignity of a ruler who knows that greatness is built from exactness. Say to yourself each morning, each sunrise renews my dominion. I command the day, and the day obeys. When spoken faithfully, this decree transforms the ordinary 24 hours into a workshop of miracles. People will call you fortunate, not seeing the inner ceremony that directs every outward result. But you will know that fortune is only discipline in royal attire. Persistence is the foundation of daily command. The kingdom is not built by one proclamation, but by 10,000 acts of obedience to a single vision. Every repetition of effort reinforces the pattern of power. Defeat, delay, or discouragement are but temporary weather across the same field of law. Keep issuing orders even when no result appears. The soldier who halts mid-battle invites the enemy's return. The man who persists compels surrender. Consider the words of Dr. Frank Crane. Habit builds the man. Each act is a stone, each repetition the mortar. The walls of your character rise invisibly with every faithful command. When you speak your aim morning and night, when you align deed with decree, you add another course to the fortress of destiny. The day will come when you act rightly without thought. When success occurs as naturally as breath, then you will understand that habit is the greatest of allies. The subconscious mind, obedient yet literal, takes every decree as truth. Tell it, I am weary, and it releases weariness. Tell it, I am strong, and strength rallies from hidden reserves. Tell it, I prosper, and it sets unseen causes in motion. It is the faithful executor of your royal will. Therefore, never jest with limitation. Every word you speak is a soldier dispatched. Send only those who fight for you. Keep before you the example of Henry Ford. He planned his enterprises like a general plans campaigns. Each part of his day had purpose. His imagination was the counsel, his decision the order, his persistence the enforcement. Even the impossible yielded to him because he made habit of definiteness. Where others reacted to events, he created them by routine so strong that failure could not intrude. When planning your day, remember that ceremony maintains authority. Rise at a fixed hour. Begin with stillness, not haste. Read your aim. Speak your affirmations. Review your plans. Then act as though all were already achieved. Throughout the day, hold brief councils with yourself, silent moments to realign attention. At night, record the victories and the neglects. Gratitude strengthens, criticism corrects. Thus, each day completes its circuit of command. Be patient with progress. A king builds cities stone by stone. An empire of thought is raised in like manner. Impatience is the traitor that opens gates to discouragement. When results delay, decree again with calm. Repetition is never wasted upon law. The universe respects the steady voice, not the loud one. Many complain that discipline robs life of joy. But joy grows from order as melody grows from rhythm. Chaos never sang a song. The man of purpose moves easily through his tasks because habit carries him. Freedom is not the absence of law, it is the mastery of it. The musician is free to create because he has learned the scales. The thinker is free to command because he has mastered his mind. Guard against small neglects. A loose hinge ruins a door. A forgotten promise ruins a name. Each broken word weakens confidence, and confidence is the cornerstone of power. Keep your own decrees as sacred. If you command yourself to rise at dawn, rise though the body plead for more sleep. One victory over comfort is worth a dozen ambitions never acted upon. The world crowns men who keep faith with themselves. Your daily plan should include time for silence. Stillness renews authority. In quiet, the mind returns to its natural throne. When the noise of life grows loud, withdraw for moments to reissue the decree of calm. Even armies rest between battles. Even the sea must pause between tides. The wise ruler does not allow fatigue to dethrone him. Rest is not surrender. It is strategy. Understand this. Organized planning converts thought into system. System converts will into result. Without it, power leaks through confusion. Every plan, even imperfect, is a channel for the law of habit. Once set, it refines itself. Begin small if you must. Plan 1 hour and rule it. Soon you will command the day, the week, the year. He who rules time rules life. The repetition of daily command gathers momentum invisible to the eye. At first, the effort seems forced, then it becomes natural. Finally, it becomes effortless. This is the coronation of habit, the moment when right action no longer requires decision. The man who has reached this stage walks in quiet power. Others call him disciplined. He feels only ease, for the law works through him. There is a secret joy in mastery. To look upon your life and see order where once was confusion, confidence where once was fear, purpose where once was drift, this is true wealth. It cannot be stolen or diminished. It radiates from within and attracts all outer prosperity. Riches, recognition, and influence come as loyal subjects to the king who governs himself daily. End each evening with gratitude. Review your progress not to condemn, but to strengthen. Thank life for obedience to law. Thank faith for endurance. Thank habit for loyalty. Gratitude seals the day's decree. Tomorrow will bow more easily before a thankful mind. Repeat before sleep this royal affirmation. Order rules my hours. Habit serves my will. Each sunrise renews my crown. I build steadily. I act faithfully. I rest peacefully. My dominion grows with every repetition of right. Say it until slumber answers, and the subconscious continues the work while you rest. For the kingdom of mind never sleeps. It merely changes guard from conscious to unconscious. The night watch enforces the day's decree. Remember always, whoever masters his hours masters his fate. Daily order is the visible proof of inward sovereignty. Life itself bends to the rhythm of your repeated command. Therefore, stand each dawn upon the steps of your own palace, lift the scepter of thought, and proclaim again, "Today I reign." Power, in its highest form, is silent. The greatest kings did not prove their strength by noise or display, but by calm dominion. When a man has mastered himself, he no longer needs to convince the world of his greatness. The world feels it in his presence. This is the radiance of true royalty, an authority that moves quietly through conduct, integrity, and purpose. It is the crown that no goldsmith can forge, the one life itself bestows upon those who rule in harmony with moral law. You have learned that thought governs condition, that faith commands law, that discipline sustains power, and that association multiplies it. Yet all of these are incomplete until character gives them nobility. For what is dominion without virtue but tyranny of the self? What is success without conscience but conquest without peace? The final mark of kingship is moral strength, the power to use power wisely. True dominion begins within, but radiates outward in service. The man who commands himself becomes a benefactor to all who dwell within his influence. His strength uplifts others rather than subdues them. He does not seek subjects. He inspires equals. He does not demand obedience. His example invites it. This is mastery refined into leadership, ambition purified into service. A true king governs by the light of principle. He is not swayed by applause or threatened by criticism. Praise cannot inflate him, and opposition cannot wound him. His compass is inward, set to truth, and because he lives by moral law, every unseen force assists him. He is in harmony with the order of the universe. Therefore, even chance conspires to advance him. Consider Abraham Lincoln. He held more power than any man of his generation. Yet he ruled not with vanity, but with mercy. He bore criticism that would have crushed lesser spirits, and yet he remained gentle. His patience, his humor, his forgiveness, these were not weaknesses, but proofs of mastery. He governed his temper, his pride, his fear, and thereby governed a nation. His greatness was invisible strength made visible through conduct. You too must come to this understanding. Dominion is not tyranny. It is not the loud assertion of the will, but the quiet demonstration of it. The tyrant commands others because he cannot command himself. The true ruler commands himself so completely that others are compelled by his example. His power is persuasive because it is pure. A man's character is the gold of his crown. Without integrity, no throne endures. Dishonesty, vanity, and selfishness corrode authority faster than time or war. A single falsehood, a single act of injustice, shakes the pillars of trust upon which all power rests. Therefore, let your every word be exact, your every promise kept, your every act worthy of your own esteem. The king's word must be as certain as the sunrise. Reframe the habit of going the extra mile as extending the realm of good. Every act done with more excellence than duty enlarges the borders of your influence. When you perform a service beyond payment, when you answer criticism with calm, when you give kindness where none is returned, you exercise the divine right of mastery. Others may not see the crown upon your head, but they feel its weight in your presence. E.M. Statler began as a bellboy, yet he treated each task as though he served a monarch. He polished shoes as though polishing the stars themselves. His cheerfulness was his scepter, his excellence his decree. When opportunity arose, it found him ready. His empire of hotels grew from courtesy and service so genuine that patrons became ambassadors of his goodwill. He ruled through kindness, a power more enduring than command. To think as a king is to serve as one, for all power in the universe exists to serve creation. The sun serves by giving light. The rain serves by nourishing the soil. The mind serves by transforming thought into benefit. When you serve faithfully, you align with the same law that moves the stars. This is why the great never fear to give. Their giving multiplies their dominion. Remember, power without goodness collapses under its own weight. The unjust ruler cannot long keep what he gains, for law demands balance. Every act of deceit sets a snare for its maker. Every deed of service builds a bridge toward increase. Justice may seem slow, but it never fails. The man who walks uprightly walks with the universe behind him. Even the winds of adversity fill the sails of the righteous. Speak this decree often. I rule myself first, therefore life trusts me with greater power. Let it remind you that authority begins and ends with self-control. The one who masters anger disarms enemies. The one who rules greed attracts prosperity. The one who governs pride gains respect. The world bends not to loudness, but to moral weight. The silent man of integrity commands more allegiance than armies of flatterers. Understand the spiritual arithmetic of this law. Every thought of honesty multiplies strength. Every act of deceit divides it. Integrity compels respect, even from those who oppose you. They may resist your position, but they cannot deny your principle. A man of clean heart carries an aura that makes duplicity tremble. His calm is his fortress, his conscience his shield. When you live by moral law, even enemies become instruments of advancement. The critic spreads your name, the rival refines your skill, the traitor tests your vigilance. Each challenge is a servant in disguise. The universe wastes nothing. It turns even resistance into resource for him who stands steadfast. So hold no resentment. Bitterness binds, forgiveness frees. The generous heart moves faster because it carries no weight. The king's peace is his greatest treasure. No crown of jewels can equal it, for peace is the evidence of complete dominion. It is the calm certainty that nothing external can disturb what is governed within. This peace does not come from lack of trouble, but from mastery over it. You will know you have reached true kingship when events that once provoked anxiety now stir only curiosity. That serenity is the echo of power. Let your daily bearing reveal this peace. Walk with measured pace. Speak with quiet confidence. Listen with full attention. Such composure is not mere posture. It is magnetism. People are drawn to the one who does not hurry, who is untroubled by noise, who radiates certainty. Even silence carries command when it issues from self-possession. The restless mind speaks to be heard. The master speaks only to accomplish. As you ascend in self-mastery, prosperity follows naturally. Wealth, influence, and recognition are not prizes. They are reflections. They mirror the order, generosity, and faith within. When you give more than you are paid, when you serve beyond expectation, when you uplift rather than demand, you multiply invisible wealth. The universe, compelled by the law of balance, must reward such surplus. A man once asked me, "How may I attract abundance?" I answered, "By becoming abundant in spirit. Give praise where others criticize. Offer help where others withhold. Think generously, and the world will repay you in kind. The mind of scarcity repels. The heart of plenty magnetizes. You cannot impoverish yourself by giving. You can only expand your capacity to receive." True royalty is a spiritual radiance that blesses everything it touches. It does not glare, it glows. It does not boast, it benefits. It moves through the world as sunlight through open fields, quietly transforming all into fruitfulness. To reach this state, you must cleanse your thought of envy, jealousy, and judgment. These are clouds that dim the crown's brightness. Gratitude and goodwill polish it until its light becomes irresistible. When your mind is pure in intention, when your heart beats with faith, when your conduct reflects honesty, your very presence changes rooms. Men speak with more care around you. Women feel safer. Children trust you. Opportunity draws nearer. You will attract allies of similar nature, for light seeks light. This is not mystery, but resonance, like draws like. The noble draw the noble, as surely as the base draw the base. Keep therefore this vow. I will be the cause of order wherever I stand. I will think truth, speak faith, act service. I will leave every place better than I found it. This is the code of kings. Each small fulfillment of it expands your influence. The baker, the teacher, the craftsman, the leader, all may rule in this manner. Royalty is not birth, it is behavior. As the years pass, others will notice your calm prosperity and call it luck. They will not see the inner laws you obey, the decrees spoken at dawn, the discipline of silence, the daily conquest of self. They will not know that while they sought power outside, you built it within, and you, having found the secret, will no longer crave their approval. For the crown you wear cannot be given. It must be earned through obedience to the laws of greatness. To live by these laws is to live beyond fear. You no longer tremble before loss or judgment. You understand that nothing real can be taken, nothing unjust can endure. Your peace becomes unshakable because it rests upon principle, not possession. And from that peace flows influence that endures long after your name is spoken. This is immortality of the noble kind, the continuance of good through example. Let this final decree seal your kingship. I now think as a king. I command my thought. I govern my emotion. I rule my time. I bless my world. Therefore, life crowns me with all that is royal. Repeat it until its rhythm becomes your heartbeat. Say it until your actions echo it. Your tone carries it. Your destiny proves it. The world has always obeyed the mind that knows its own authority. It will obey yours when your faith equals your purpose. The path of mastery is never truly finished. Each dawn calls you to a higher throne. Each challenge tests the strength of your crown. But know this, once you have learned to govern yourself, you need never fear the rule of any other. For the man who reigns within reigns everywhere. You were born for this dominion. Within you lies the kingdom, the court, the army, and the crown. Think as a king, act as a king, serve as a king, and life itself will kneel to the majesty of your command.